Today, we'll cover an important topic, solving inequalities algebraically. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to handle inequalities in equations. Whether it's dealing with greater than or less than symbols, flipping the inequality when needed, or knowing when to keep things as they are, we'll cover it all. By the end of this video, you'll have the confidence to solve inequalities and understand when and why each rule applies. Let's see how these inequalities work. When solving inequalities, we'll focus on these points. Adding or subtracting. Just like with equations, you can add or subtract the same number to both sides of an inequality without changing the inequality's direction. Multiplying or dividing by a positive number. When you multiply or divide both sides by a positive number, the inequality symbol stays the same. Multiplying or dividing by a negative number. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, however, the inequality symbol must be flipped. This is one of the most important rules for solving inequalities. Always think about the sign of the number you're dividing or multiplying by, positive or negative, as this determines whether the inequality sign will flip. Inequalities can be written as intervals, showing the range of values that satisfy the inequality. Let's put these concepts to work in some examples so you can see how each rule applies. Let's solve the given inequality. Our goal is to isolate x on one side of the inequality. To get x by itself, we'll need to subtract 4 from both sides. Now, let's simplify it. Our final answer is x less than 6. This means that any number less than 6 will satisfy the inequality. Let's solve the next inequality. Just like in our first example, our goal is to isolate the variable term. To isolate the term with x, we'll add 5 to both sides and simplify. Next, we need to isolate x by dividing both sides by 3. Since we're dividing by a positive number, the inequality sign stays the same. Our final answer is x greater than or equal to 5. This means that any number greater than or equal to 5 will satisfy the inequality. Finally, let's take a look at the inequality. To start, we need to get rid of the -5 that's outside the parentheses. We can do this by dividing both sides by -5. Remember, whenever we divide or multiply an inequality by a negative number, the inequality sign changes direction. Let's simplify it. Next, we'll isolate x by subtracting 1 from both sides. The solution to our inequality is x less than or equal to -2. Let's compare this with our answer choices. We see that option D is the correct answer. Great work today! Let's quickly recap the core concepts we covered related to solving inequalities algebraically. Goal of solving inequalities: our goal is to isolate the variable, just like with equations. But remember, inequalities represent a range of possible values, not just a single solution. Key rules for solving inequalities: we learned that adding or subtracting the same number from both sides of an inequality doesn't change its direction. When you multiply or divide by a positive number, the inequality symbol stays the same, but if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the inequality symbol. Keep this in mind, and with practice, you'll master solving inequalities. Remember, the steps are similar to equations, just watch out for when to flip that inequality symbol.